And good morning and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster and I'm touching base with you as I do. And here is my buddy Chris.
Good
What's
morning, sir. How
going
you
on,
doing?
Chris? Good morning. I still love that background. I just love that background.
We are in the newsroom.
We are in the newsroom. Oh gosh, it is a new day. So much is happening in the news, and we'll talk
Yes.
about that today. Today is our let me just put that up on the screen. That always helps when people know what we're doing on a day. And today is TrendWatch Thursday, where we talk about news and headlines and what's going on. And so there's a lot going on in the news, and we need to be aware of. We need to be aware of, and we need to be thinking about. But before we go there, well, first let's say let's hear about Chris before we Chris, how are you this morning, and what's going on in your world?
I'm good. My world's been really, really busy. So, of course, I wasn't here last Friday. I was
Mm-hmm.
on my way to California, had a really great weekend. So last Saturday, I was fortunate enough, because of work and some other things, to attend the Holly Rod Foundation's Design Care 2024 gala.
Mm.
Um, and one of the main honorees, honorees, was Viola Davis. Now, as most of you guys know, I work with After Seven, and I'm in charge of all the media and social media stuff. But I was afforded the opportunity to actually work the red carpet and to interview a lot of the honorees, and then also a lot of the other celebrities that were in attendance. I was able to interview Rodney and Holly Pete,
I saw
who,
that one this
yeah.
morning.
So that one's actually up this morning. The
Yes.
rest of the interviews will start to go up slowly. It'll be on my Instagram channel. It's on After Seven's page, and then it will eventually end up on After Seven's YouTube channel as well. So like I said, so a lot of high-profile people. Magic Johnson was there. Just a ton of people. It was a great experience. I was super
You
happy
got
to be
to
able to.
interview some really cool
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Viola Davis' interview will probably go up next. She was the main honoree, as I said, being highlighted this past Saturday. It was a beautiful event.
Mm-hmm.
They had a silent auction, they had a regular auction, they had a fashion show, and then of course the entertainment for the night was After Seven, and they threw the house down
Mm.
Saturday night. So it was an amazing show. It was a very long day. It was my first time actually in LA. I've been to California so many times, but I've never been to LA. This was
Wait,
my first time.
what?
My first time in LA. I've been everywhere LA adjacent. Um,
Yes.
but never been to LA. And I actually had to say I thoroughly enjoyed it. I got a chance because we were staying in the heart of downtown on Grant Avenue. We were right down from. I literally walked from the hotel to the Walt Disney concert hall.
Mm.
So we're in that art district basically. Was able to see a lot of things while I was there. So definitely will be back to LA to see more of it. But it was a great experience. I'm super proud of the work that I put out, and you guys will start to see that as the days go by. But if you haven't seen the short interview with Rodney and Holly Pete, go ahead, check it out on my page or the After Seven page.
Yes. It looks so good. I had to send my little fireball, my little fires on it. It was so good to see it, and I was like, "Go, Chris! Go, Chris! Go!" He was
Yeah,
just interviewing and sharing and talking, and I was
yeah.
like, "Oh my goodness, ET, move over!"
I was doing double duty Saturday, because I had to get there really early just to set up for that, and then I had to do my regular job. So. But
Wow.
I'm grateful and thankful for to their entire team. Such an immaculate and well organized team that Holly Robinson Pete has. Thank you to Janella if she happens to be watching this. She was a very integral part in allowing me to be a part of that. So thank you guys so much for the experience.
Wow, awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that experience because I was like, wow, look at Chris doing his thing. I was like big brother excited about little brother. I was like, yeah, go get him, Chris, go get him. Anyway, it was so good. Anyway, let's say hello to some folks. The first person in the building is Mr. B, Brian Young Creatives. Happy Friday Eve, fam. Let's go. Aya gets the silver, Grand Rising, she says, and Jazzy gets the bronze. Good morning, everyone, she says, Jazzy. And we had Jazzy was on yesterday with us. He came on the panel. I was so happy to have Jazzy on. And Aya is in the building, Grand Rising, everyone, she says. And Amparo is in the building, Grand Rising. Amparo, we need to figure out, we need to talk. Where are you on your project? How's that going? Just let us know so we know how we can support you. And Brian sends his applause. Yes, so that was, it was a, whew. So yesterday I had a busy day. It was after I got off here with you guys, I was supposed to go spend time with my mom, but then I got distracted, and not distracted in a bad way. I ended up with one of my clients and friends, Stefan, and we met in the city. And let me see if I can pop this on here. Maybe I can get it on the cell phone. Let me see if I can pop it on here. But it was really cool because we wanted to take pictures of something that was done, and I was so excited about it. I'm gonna see if I can get it up there. But anyway,
Yeah.
this is us hanging out, and that is my photo that made it to Ford's magazine. So
Wow.
this is for Ford's, and so I'm so excited about that. So we got to hang out yesterday.
Hey, you're looking slim and trim, sir.
I only lost 3 pounds.
You're still looking slim and trim in that photo.
Oh yeah, it does have an interesting, yeah, yeah, maybe I don't look that bad. The chubbiness
Come on
is.
now. Take the compliment.
I take the compliment, sir. But we had a good time. So we were just, Jessica is one of, she's a good, I met Jessica through Stefan, and Jessica now lives between US, New York, and Paris. And so we got into the conversation, and I was telling her what I wanted to do about selling my apartment, and then maybe, she said, so where would you like to move to? And it was on your list. And I said, well, she said, I know that South Africa was on your list. And I said, yes, South Africa still is on the list. And I said, Paris is on the list, but I think Paris is probably too expensive to go live. And then she said, no. She said, I am living very well in Paris, and you just need to you just need to know how to navigate, how to live there. And so she started giving me all these scenarios of how to be an expat in Paris. And there are so many Americans that do live in Paris, and they all have like a community, and everybody's connected, and they support one another. And she goes, I've created a whole network of friends there, and I would see that they would love to meet you and hang out and live in Paris. And she said, so think about it. And I was like, well, always wanted to live in Paris. And so I said, between Paris and South Africa, Paris is easy to get back to New York, but then South Africa, living in Cape Town. And then we were talking about the healthcare system. We were talking about water. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff. But it was ironic. I was just supposed to meet Stefan at Madison Square Park, take our picture, me get back on the bike, go to my mom's. We ended up going to the workspace at WeWork. It's a space below WeWork called, I think it's called Blender or something like that, something Blender. Anyway, we went downstairs. We were there, and then I got the surprise visit of seeing Jessica. And Jessica is such a sweet woman, and but she gave me a lot of things to think about, as in maybe checking out Paris. So as I get closer, this is a 2-year plan, y'all. So I'm not leaving anytime soon, but you have to start on your plans now, so that way you can be able to do the things later.
Yes.
So I'm looking at all the alternatives that I may have once I sell my apartment.
So may we have a touch base daily from Paris?
Yes. Could you imagine?
Patty?
Yeah. So we'll have you in New York, and we'll have me in you'll be in the United States or something.
Yeah.
But I said, that would be really good. I've always, like I said, it would give me it will be a new chapter, and it's something that I'm thinking about. I've been, as you probably all know, I talk about Paris a lot and how much I love it, and that's why I love Emily in Paris so much. I was telling
Have you
Jessica,
watched the latest
I said, you know,
season?
every time I see Emily in Paris, I think of you. And she
Well,
goes,
hold on, hold
really? She
on.
goes,
Did you watch the
yes,
latest season?
I
And
watched. I
hold on,
just
so,
finished it.
so wait a minute. So we just finished it yesterday or 2 days ago. So originally it was what we heard
It was
was
supposed to be in
that
the
this
last
season
season.
it's not. It just got
Nope,
renewed.
they got renewed.
It got renewed. And
And
I'm
guess what
wondering if
she's
they're going
gonna
to change
be?
the name of it. Let's not give it
Emily.
away, but well,
Yeah,
don't give it away. Don't give it
no,
away.
can't give it away.
But
But
they might
yes,
change. They might change the name.
I was like, and so I was like, this is so cool. I would. I mean, you know, it's always good when you have an insider. I
Yes.
mean, Jessica, she lives here. She lives in Queens. She's been here for a while. She knows she's part of what they call a New York socialite. She's done so many things. She works for a magazine corporate company. She's been in the big high life kind of life here in New York. And then she now, she's in a beautiful relationship and with her, boyfriend who is French, and they lived in Paris. They live outside of Paris. And she was like, you don't have to live inside Paris. You don't have to live like downtown. You could just
Yeah.
live right outside, just like you live in Brooklyn. You could just live
Yeah.
just like outside and then
And then just
commute
commute into
in,
town.
just like you
Yeah.
normally do. Just get on the bike or take the train. And I was thinking about it, and I said, wow, this is really, and she gave me, like I said, she gave me so many thoughts. And I said, I look at Emily in Paris because I said, every time I see a place, I get so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been there. Anyway, so that's something that I'm thinking. So keep me in your prayers as I begin to navigate my next chapter of my life. And, which definitely will include you all. So that is definitely something that will always be.
This is
And
exciting.
but yeah, because it's the first time I've ever really considered selling my apartment and really decide to. And we were just talking, my buddy Steph and we were just talking. We were like, well, New York City is not like it used to be. And I am so annoyed every day. And when that happens, that means it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
It's time for you to begin to think about other things and other places. So as much as I love New York, I've lived here all my life, but there's a whole world out there.
Yeah.
And I do believe, and again, and we were all talking yesterday and we were saying it really is determinant upon the election. And now if the election it happens, and if Trump wins, I'm selling my apartment immediately and I'm leaving. It's just I'm selling it and I'm leaving, and I'm gonna start looking at. She was sharing with. She says, "Ron, make sure you start looking at your visa to go to Paris and start thinking about work visa and start doing your photography there." She says, "Ron, there's a lot of opportunities for photographers in Paris." She goes, "More so than in New York." And I was like, really? She goes, yeah, there's lots of people in Paris love to have parties. They love to have gatherings. And they like the old school way. They like to have photos. It's not like, in America, everybody has a social media, Instagram and all that other stuff. People do love the old camera. So anyway, it is a thought. Keep me in your prayers as I
Yeah.
navigate this. So
That's
anyway.
exciting.
It is exciting. So the first thing we want to talk about today, guys, in the news. Well, there's more people that came in the building. Oh, let me say hello to some folks. And Paro says yes. Okay, Paro says yes. We'll share information and a great discount for RAP family members to Utah. Yes, let us know. I still want to go. Derek says, good morning to everyone. Kimmy Kim is in the building. Gwendolyn's in the building, and she's in the backstage, so we're going to bring her up in a moment. And we have, and Paul says, really, Paris? Yes, and Paul, you can come visit me in Paris, my sister. And Paro has become my twin. She's the female twin. So yeah, Paris. It is a major thought. It is a good thought here. Anyway, so anyway, moving on from Paris. Okay, there we go. She says, I absolutely love Paris. Now I have a place for everyone to come visit. How's that, right?
That part.
That's the part that you like the best. I gotta make sure I get a 1-bedroom apartment or 2 bedrooms. So anyway, so the first thing out the box, the dock workers. The dock workers on strike. And I did hint to this yesterday.
This could be really bad.
Yeah, let me bring Gwendolyn on as well. Hey, Gwendolyn, how you doing?
Hey, lady.
I'm doing fairly well. We are getting better.
Oh,
is everybody sick?
No, mine is allergies, and we have a high allergy alert right now, as well as ozone. So, like, I was down yesterday.
She was down and out. She was down and out, y'all.
Down.
She was down and out. So here we go. The U.S. port workers are on strike. That is the East Coast and the Gulf Coast. Now, they were talking about it this morning. They were talking about it last night. I mean, there's so much stuff in the news. It's so hard to keep up with some of this stuff because there's so much going on. But the U.S. port workers are on strike, and they don't see any negotiations in sight. And they are fighting for higher wages. They want higher wages because they feel like they lost a lot of members to COVID.
Yeah.
They were the essential workers while the rest of America was on break and home. They were still working. They were still doing supplies. They were still getting the barges into the states and getting all of the stuff, all the health care stuff that had to come from China and all the other places. They all had to come in through the docks. And they said companies were making millions of dollars then, but then now they're making billions of dollars. Yep. And they're saying we just simply want a piece of the pie. We want a fair piece of the pie. And so and I don't see why this is a difficult thing. But again, I don't understand
American greed.
How much money can you freaking have and not pass it on to the people that made you able to have that money?
All of it. So listen, no, it's true. I mean, and it's actually starting to affect people. I was watching, reading on the news yesterday how it's actually they're warning people in Delaware to start to stock up on things because availability of things are already starting to have shortages. And by the weekend, certain things you won't have, like certain types of produce. Ronald was at Costco yesterday, and they had a sign outside saying all the things that they do not have right now, and they might not have for a while. And this is a direct result of this strike. The strike only just started, and it's already having an impact. So can you imagine if this thing is prolonged? They're saying they can lose $4 billion a day?
$4 to $5 billion a day for the American economy.
That is crazy. A day.
Can I add my piece into that?
Go ahead, dog.
I got a couple of pieces.
Go ahead. You just do it.
So this is where we are as American consumers and workers and business owners. I'm gonna agree with Chris. It's greed. It's a zero-sum mentality that in order for me to win, someone else has to lose. So let's start with the hoarding of toilet paper and paper towels. Like, how many do you actually really need? Like, think about that. Instead of saying, hey, let me go out, get my daily groceries, and just work through life as life is coming, I'm going to go out and buy all that I can and keep it to myself. So the same thing that they're doing on the docks, that these have always been essential workers. They want to work you to the bone and then pretty much bring in some automation and cut you out. It's like, look, dude, you wouldn't be here if I wasn't here. So why don't I get my fair share? Just get my fair share. And there are people like, but they're already making like 30-some dollars an hour. Like if I was making that, that's not the issue. No one ever complains when the CEO gets like $1 million and then like another $500,000 bonus. No one says anything about that. For
We're
some
not
reason,
doing
we have this
anything.
idea that the average worker should always be struggling. That I don't understand. I say, look, if they don't pay me, ain't nothing. I'm going to say something. It's not going to move. I'm just going to say it's not moving.
I'm in
Now, they're not
agreement.
impacting cruise lines. So I appreciate them saying, look, we're not going to touch that because that's not really a part of this, but everything else will be impacted.
Because, Gwendolyn loves some cruising.
You damn right. I'm getting on mine December. Well, yeah.
Gwendolyn loves some cruising, but it's just, I sit there and say, it's like, if you made billions of dollars, or you're making billions of dollars compared to making millions of dollars, what's so hard about giving maybe $500 million to the workers? If you're making billions, why not take $500 million and give it to the workers?
This is how the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor.
It's also that American companies, oh God, how do I say this graciously? Well, screw it.
Don't sugarcoat it.
So we did a lot of stuff here in America, manufacturing, a lot of things here in America. And then somebody said, well, what if we went to another place where they have cheaper labor? Let's just do that. And so things started moving over, right? They started going over because it costs too much to hire American citizens. It costs too much. American citizens are just about like workers. We're a commodity. We are a number on a spreadsheet.
Yes, right.
Those days of working someplace for 20, 30, 40 years are gone. The loyalty, that relationship, it is broken.
Gone.
That sucker is like, we need all kinds of therapy, but it just goes back to greed. Now, somebody mentioned capitalism. Here's the thing about capitalism. You can be conscious and be a capitalist.
Yes.
You don't have to do business the way that everybody else is. You don't have to screw people over. You don't have to treat your employees like they're replaceable, like ink in a copier. You don't have to do that. That is a choice. It is always a choice. There are plenty of other companies that are paying their employees well and making money, because if you take care of your employees, they take care of your customer.
That's the old, that's Carnegie's rule, right?
Very basic.
Not that Carnegie was amazing, but he laid some good foundations. That was one of his rules. You take care of the workers, you take care of your employees, and the customers are automatically going to be taken care of.
So this is why, in my opinion, like I was never part of a union because I never had a situation that needed it. But we are at a place where it's time to work as a collective.
Yes.
Because if you don't have any workers, you don't have a business.
And well, you can thank Reagan for that, because I remember when I was a part of a union, and unions are necessary. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes I used to get pissed off with unions because they would, you had to pay your dues. There's certain things, and then there's some laws. But you know what? As I've gotten old, I was young then. I was like in my 20s, and but now as an older person, and I realize the loss of unions in America has caused the devastation of the middle class.
Yeah,
it was unions, whether you like them or not, they did fight for the worker. And I remember when my union leaders would be like, nope, you're not doing this today because that's not what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. But you think about, as the unions decreased in America, unfair wages increased in America. Yes. And that's the point. And that's why it's so important. And that's why I don't understand these simpleton people in the country that are supporting a guy that hates unions, meaning Trump.
It's also, if I can add to that, not only did it impact the middle class, it also created, and I hate how I'm going to say this sort of modern day slave mentality.
Yeah.
That I just can't afford. Now, truly, some people can't afford to miss work, right? Because if you're sick, then you don't get paid, you don't have paid sick leave, and now you're behind on your bills. Like everything just really stacks up on you, right? And I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but I'm thinking about the people who have lost their lives from that plastics manufacturing plant where they said they were not allowed to leave, or if they left, they would lose their job. At what point do you realize my life is worth more than what's going on in this building? And we've got this really warped sense of loyalty to people who, at the end of the day, hate to say it, could care less.
They don't give two S's about you.
Because again, you're just a number. You're just a number. And unions, I agree with what they're fighting for. They're fighting for automation, against automation that's going to replace them. China has a total, I think it's 90% or 80% automated docking system. So ships come in, everything is automated. Everything, there's no human beings in China. However, these dock workers see where these people want to go. Meaning you're going to work them over, work them hard, and then as they're working their butts off, you're installing all of these automated, machines, systems to take their place, and then you're going to kick them to the side. And most of the time, they're not going to give them any, servants pay and things like they do for the CEO. Like you just mentioned, the CEO gets $1 million when he messes up their company.
Yeah, and they get parachute packages to leave. Yeah. I'm like, it's crazy. Yeah. You can mess up and destroy a company and still walk away with a package. Like, that makes no sense.
You could destroy a company, and you still walk away with your parachute. It's America. Yeah. I mean, so this is, I am with these workers. I believe that the workers are doing the right thing. And I'm glad, I'm hoping that the Biden administration, I always say Biden because it is Biden's the president. That for those that don't think Biden is the president, because there's some people on the other side think Kamala is the president, which is another story.
She is not.
We'll talk about that later. She's not the president yet. And but I agree with them. They need this is the same thing that happened with the actors.
Yeah.
This was no longer just a fight for money. This was a fight about automation and technology.
Yeah.
And just like the actors were saying, wait a minute. You can't just take our faces and our what voices. We're doing and then take them and now use them for something else. Can't do it. So because technology is available to do it doesn't mean it's right.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm glad that Americans are stepping up and saying, you know what? We see where technology is going. We see where technology is. And we are not going to be behind the 8 ball. We're going to try to get ahead of this and say, look, automation, AI is here. It ain't going nowhere. It's only going to get more. It's only going to get better. So I need to have loophole. I need to make sure that I'm protected as a worker.
Well, see, here's the thing with that. A lot of times, technology comes in and we're always having to play catch up with the laws and regulations. Whereas now I feel as though people are saying, all right, listen, we need to really get in front of this and make sure that we can secure our futures with the technology that's here, because it's only happening faster. I mean, listen, I had this conversation with two of my best friends recently, this past week, as a matter of fact. We were talking about AI and technology. And I was just like, you know what? I'm really starting to embrace it this year. The other thing, too, is if you do not embrace it, you will be left behind. Yes. And then you won't be able to profit off of it and be able to maintain some type of business if you're not using it. I use it in my writings. This background here is AI generated. I literally went into Photoshop and said, this is the type of setup that I want, and I created this background. I could have sat there and done this, gone and done some photos, stitched up together. That would have taken, hours.
Back in the old days, it would take
weeks. Whereas I sat there and I put in my prompts, what I wanted, and I was able to generate this. So you have to know how to use it effectively where it can be beneficial to you.
Yeah. And look, Reagan destroyed the middle class with those policies. And they always look for an opening. Remember how it happened? Remember the air traffic controllers? The air traffic controllers were going to go on strike because they need their wages increased. And then he said, I'm going to just fire them all. So they always, and sometimes I'm almost embarrassed that I can say that I used to be a Republican. I have to tell you, because when you look back and you become more mature in your thinking, you realize a lot of those policies have destroyed our country.
Yeah.
A lot of those, because again, those policies, when we look at Project 2025 now, what we see in Project 2025 is an enhancement of what was proposed during the Reagan years.
Yes, 1980. Like
Right.
he got the first copy in 1980, printed it in 1981. They played a long game. I know that much.
Was that 40 years ago?
40 years ago.
Yes,
40
they
plus
played a
years
long
ago.
game.
But again,
listen, that's the one thing about Republicans. You can't
they play the long game.
They're good at. They know how to play long games, whereas Democrats, like, they're playing chess while Democrats are playing checkers.
True. And in some cases, they're playing 3-level chess. For all those that are chess players in the building.
I was thinking Star Trek.
I was thinking about Star Wars.
So what should we be doing? One is, I heard yesterday, definitely now don't go out to the store and go and grab everything, and just be greedy. But what we should be doing is stocking up on items that we know are going to run out, that we need. Things that we need that you need in your house. For instance, if you like produce and you think you can get your produce and make preserves out of them, you might want to do that now, because produce is going to be the thing that's going to be the first to wean off.
Here's the problem though. Like, so Gwenda was talking about the people hoarding paper towels and toilet paper. So typically in our household, what we do is we do our big grocery shopping at the beginning of the month. So like anytime between now and Saturday is when we're gonna go to like Costco and do our big shopping. And like, honestly, right now we need toilet paper, we need paper towels, because we're like on the last ones of each of those things. And I'm more than likely gonna go there and not be able to find that stuff. And this is not the first time it happened. During COVID, this happened where people were hoarding this stuff. I mean, I remember Costco had instituted one order of paper towel, one order of hand
tissue,
napkins or whatever. Yes, per household, and you couldn't go in this and be like a married couple and buy one each. It was one per household, one per card. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, but that's what it is. But also, what you said about produce will be the first thing that's going to be affected, and they've already been warning people to make sure you get your produce.
They said a lot of the produce that's on the docks right now are not going to get to their destination or get off the containers, so they're all going to go bad. So that's it. So if you have the produce that's on the shelf today, is pretty much all you're going to have.
Yeah, but it's only going to last for how long? Like, it's not like your cabbage and your celery and whatnot last forever.
Yeah.
So
your produce is pretty much done. So you gotta go get your canned foods. You gotta get your jar foods. You gotta get those kind of things. And it's just so sad that, like I said, these rich, owners, they should just automatically just give this to these workers, because again, you are affecting the whole country. And then guess what happens, y'all? This is what happens. I want you guys to understand the bridge, because most Americans don't understand. Supply decreases. What happens to prices? Economics 101. Supply decreases. Demand increases and price increases. And guess what? We just got inflation back down.
Yeah.
And now inflation will begin to rise again because of these idiots. I'm just, and I can't help but think that some of these people, they are in cahoots with the Trump administration and all the other stuff.
You have to wonder.
This is you would say, well, maybe why would this be? Yeah, they just need to pay the workers.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down the conspiracy lane because it's so easy to do so. What's here? I see what you guys are saying here. Jazzy says,
real quick, are you seeing all these people in the room?
16.
Okay, no, because I'm looking at the feed and I'm not seeing that here.
Oh yeah, 16. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, about 16 folks here.
Okay.
And I was like, wait a minute, we got hundreds of people in here. What's going on?
No, it's showing a lot less. That's why I was asking the question.
Yeah, we usually have about 20 people in the room, but today we're down about 5 or 6. Fifi, all you have to do is scan the QR code there. Or if you want to come on the panel, just scan the QR code. Okay, so there you go.
What is the next topic?
Okay, the next topic obviously is a debate. After the debate, so since most of us were not here to talk about the debate yesterday, what do you guys feel about the debate?
So here's the thing. Let me tell you something. JD Vance is dangerous. And I'm going to tell you why.
I say it over and over.
He is smart. He's not Trump. He presented to the American people this very calm, collected, and reserved person. So for those that do not follow like us and all the politics that are going on TV and tuned in for the first time to see him, they saw a different person, and he was pulling the wool over people's eyes. So you have to be very, very careful. I think that Walsh did a pretty good job. He had a slow start, but he had a couple gotcha moments at the end where JD Vance wouldn't answer the question as far as did Trump win the election? He couldn't answer. He sidestepped it. And that was very telling. All the work that he had put in up to that point fell apart when he could not answer that simple question.
The simple question took him down.
The simplest of all the questions. Because here's the other thing too. And I know we'll probably get into the whole Jack Smith and the filing that came out yesterday.
That's
okay,
it.
all right. So I won't get into it yet. But the only reason why JD Vance is on that stage is because Pence is not there, and there's a reason why Pence is not there.
Hello. Did anyone see the footage? I'm trying to look for it. I thought I had it here. There was a footage of this young high schooler that's been going viral, and he wanted to correct Vance in the job.
It was a college student.
Yeah, Marcus. You're talking about Marcus, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was saying how
the young black guy.
He was really good. He was like, let me tell you the role of the vice president.
Yes.
Because most people don't know. Again, he said, I did go through my civic class. I did pay attention in civics. People have to understand civics. The vice president has no authority. I love the way he broke it down. He says, and none of them said that they were going to become, as soon as they get into office, that the VP was going to do an executive order.
Right.
Because they can't.
I mean, here's the deal. I told you about this, Ron. I had already recorded, because we did our quick little social studies class last Friday about the 3 branches of government.
You did can I just say you did a great job with that?
Because I was like, people don't get it. And I just simply said, a little PSA, is Kamala Harris is a VP. Cut it out. And so there were some comments on TikTok yesterday from some men who were like, I guess somebody just find a mic and start talking about stuff and they don't know. It's bro, for the very last time. Because they did say, well, she broke all these ties. She was breaking. Dude. Again, it's not the Harris-Biden administration. Okay. She's the VP. Cut it out. Now, I know what Vance was doing. I know that he kept using her name. That was clearly part of their strategy to put everything on her. Like, and Harris hasn't done this, and Harris hasn't done that. And I agree with Tim, but Harris doesn't. It's like, stop. But I know exactly. Like, we should all know why they're doing it, because they need to put her name in there somewhere. It would have been nice if Tim had said, "Hey, last time I checked, you weren't the president," but whatever. That would have been nice. But he took the more civil route, almost too civil. Like, I mean, I appreciate it, but I'm like, dude, this isn't. There's no need to be. But personally, I thought I hate to say it, but it was like pointless. I don't get the point of a VP debate. I don't get it. That's just me. I don't know.
A lot of people don't.
Here's your replacement, but I'm just like,
well, a lot of people feel like the VP debate is a waste of time. I mean, most people feel like it's not going to change the direction of the election. However, though, I do believe this one was important because it showed if something happens to Trump and if Trump wins, you got this crazy person right behind him.
And he's anybody who can dangerous like that. I mean, I thought it was cute that they went down their Twitter feed and said, now, according to this, back in 2016, you said da da da. It was cute, not necessary, but it was cute. And even then, he was like, you know what? I didn't know him then, and now that I know him, I know. Man, people like that. Oh my goodness, you have to watch them with all your eyes, like all of them.
They will say whatever
to
get what they want.
I was like, dude, yeah, But I didn't know he was 40. Okay. I don't want to start talking about age, but okay. But he's, because I'm just saying, you know.
Fifi, I did send a link just so you know.
He's clearly going to be in the kerfuffle for a while. Him and all those other Christian nationalists. So this should be interesting to watch.
They're not Christian nationals.
Well, you know what? I'm just using their words. Okay?
Well, they are Christian nationalists.
Their words.
They're Christian nationalists.
Yeah, but they're not Christian.
They're not Christians. There's a difference between Christians and Christian nationalists.
Christian nationalists.
This is what they are. This is what the Heritage Society is. It is the Christian nationalists. I know. We have to separate. I know some people that are Christians have now been so embarrassed to even say they're Christians today because of these crazy folks. But the Christian nationalists are the problem. They are.
Speak up more.
I really believe the Christian church in America should be talking against it. But unfortunately, there are some Christian churches that have also wound themselves in or looped themselves in to the Christian nationalist movement.
Yeah.
So Christianity in America is a whole nother topic. And it is a complex topic if people don't know their church history.
But is it really complex? Because politics has no place in religion.
Yes.
And you know, for
church
a good chunk now, from the class I took in college about religion, a lot of that's just man-made. You know, somebody was unhappy with the way that Jacob was doing it, so I'm gonna go start my own sect, and now we got this, and so a lot of it's just ego, male ego. Sorry, guys.
It is what it is.
So, well, it's true. It is what it is. But there's no place for there in that. There's if you are going by the Bible, as you say, the red letters. Come on now. The fact that so many people are silent. I don't know if y'all gonna be at the pearly gates. I don't know if I'm gonna see you. Just
you saying. Know, and speaking of that, I was looking at the footage of Trump being at the in North Carolina. Was he in North Carolina that he was 2 days ago or yesterday?
Throwing food.
Was he throwing food? But who was behind him? Who was standing next to him? Franklin Graham. And I sat there and said, this guy is lying out his mouth. And Frank Graham, who is supposed to be a regular Christian, but don't get me started on that subject. He was sitting there bouncing his head, agreeing with the lies of Trump, saying, oh, the president has not been helping. The president is not been is they're vacationing somewhere.
I don't know how people sleep at night. And
how do they sleep?
It's not to be joking. It's like it's serious in terms of character and integrity. Like I just don't know.
They don't have any.
Up in the morning and
no moral compass
in the mirror and then say what you say. And claim to represent something. I'm like, how do you do that? Because the few little lies I tell, I hate to say little lies, but the few little lies I tell, I do feel some kind of way about them. Like, ooh, I shouldn't have lied to my grandbaby, but she's not gonna know until she's like 18. Stuff like that. But I just, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't understand how they get up in the morning, look at themselves, go about the day, and go to bed like a baby, like, and never think to themselves, wow, I just really did some awful things today. Like,
I sat there when I saw Franklin Graham. I said, sit down. Sit down. You are an embarrassment. You are an embarrassment to the cloth. You're an embarrassment to the cross. You're an embarrassment to the believers. You need to sit down. And we have this campaign here in New York City. I don't know if you've ever seen it on our in the commercials. We have Franklin Graham. He comes on in between some of the news shows and says, you need to give your heart to Christ and blah, 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 blah. And yada, he does his spill. He is not his father. He is not Billy Graham. And there was such thing as turning over in your grave. That might be this may be one of those instances.
You mean rolling?
Like rolling, right? Rolling, spinning.
Yes.
Because Franklin Graham has become an embarrassment to Billy Graham's movement of. One thing about Billy Graham, but he had his issues, but one thing you can say about the guy is he always kept preaching the pure gospel. He didn't get into politics. I mean, as much as he could try to stay away from it. Obviously, he had his Nixon problem, and some things he was caught in doing. But when you look at his life, it has always been about the gospel and keeping it simple. You got Franklin Graham, who I read about some of the family members do not appreciate Franklin Graham. I mean, and what should have been happening is, again, the bigotry. His daughter should have gotten the helm to the ministry, but because she was a woman, they gave it to Franklin. And that's a whole nother story, another church history moment. But definitely, guys, that is the insanity of it all. And but I sat there and said, he's standing right next to Trump as Trump is lying so blatantly, and he's bouncing his head. And you wonder why there's a big falling away from the church. Because of people like Franklin Graham.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to have to go all in and name him by name. But when you see someone so despicable in what he talks about, it's ridiculous. Anyway.
I mean, Trump is a heathen, and he surrounds himself with similar people.
Yeah. Hey, guys. We got Jazzy in the building again. Jazzy, hey, Jazzy. And Mr. B. Holy moly. But you see what I'm saying? It just, to me, when I saw that footage I think it was Monday, because they did that Sunday. On Sunday, couldn't believe that. So you saw the footage on Monday, and you're like, you got to be kidding me. And so every time I see him on TV, I say, I talk to the TV. You've heard that rumor from Omar. I'm like, sit down, just sit down, sit your butt down. You are just bringing shame. You're bringing shame. Anyway, I just wish people, and a shout out to all the Christians in the world that are living by the red letters, that are truly trying to follow Jesus and their teaching. And I respect all religions. I respect the Muslim religion. I respect Buddhists. I respect all religions. However, I just want to make sure, since I am talking about Christianity right now, that there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of Christians around the world that love the Bible, love the Word of God, love the red letters, and seek out every day to make the world a better place. And so, therefore, shout out to all of you out there that are doing that. You are to be commended, because you are saving this world from the abandonment of the gospel. Thank you. Sorry, just had to go there. Hey, Jazz, what's on your mind, Jazzy Jazz?
I just want to jump on real quick because to what you're speaking about. Last night, I had my church did a forum specifically on voting, the importance of voting, and they had Governor Westmore there. They had, it was a bipartisan event, and what I loved so much about it was the way that people were asking questions, the way that people were actually making a point to say, hey, this is why this is important. Yes, we're in a church. These are some framings that you can have and really use the power of the church to actually make a difference and have different viewpoints be talked about, but in a way that made sense.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times when we see what's happening right now, there's always this pressure to say like, okay, we have to be one way or we have to be the other way. And what I love so much about that event last night was there were Republicans, there were Democrats, there were independents, there were people asking questions, there were people asking questions about immigration, economic policies, the port situation was going on with the strike. There were people really just expressing what they were feeling to these elected officials. And one of the things I love so much was Governor Moore basically sat there and said, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, the people that speak up are the people that we pay attention to. And the reason why I wanted to jump on here is because I think so many times we talk about, voting, but we don't talk about what happens after. And I think we have to understand and be mindful that just because the election ends on November the 5th, that's really the beginning of the work.
Yes.
And we don't ever talk about that. And I think it's important to be said because those left and right last night were saying, listen, we pay attention to the constituents that knock on our doors. We pay attention to the people that make it known and make it a point that what they want is what we can give them. There have been bipartisan bills in Maryland that have passed, and there have been things in Maryland where it's like, okay, what are we doing? But the thing that Maryland is so great at doing is really having both sides have a voice in our state. Sometimes I don't agree with it. Sometimes I do. But Westmore has been very, very effective in how he gets things passed because of the fact that he works across the aisle. And that is something that is very lost in this moment in time. And I think we need to bring that back. Yes. We need to push that. We need to understand that everybody has a voice in this election, but you also have to be mindful of what we say and how we say it and say like, listen, you know what? JD Vance, I will tell you, the other night I was getting really, really frustrated because what was frustrating me the most was this man was blatantly lying, not getting any pushback from it. And there are going to be people, like you all said earlier, that really look at him and say, he's an upstanding citizen. He was lying the whole entire time.
Smooth operator.
And he was doing it so smooth. And like y'all said, I love Tim Walz. I think what he stands for is great, but he looked nervous. And sometimes you need that person that gets up there and just shows what it is and just say it. And that's what they do very well. They get up on stage and they will say the lie and they will say it so with their whole entire chest. When they're speaking about Walz and Harris, when they're speaking about real issues, sometimes it comes off like, I don't really know if that's true because this is what's happening. When I was listening to people last night, the questions that were being asked, a lot of people talk about, oh, it's focused on the economy and all that other stuff. Most of those people didn't care about the economy at all. Most of the people in that church were saying, hey, I want to know if I'm going to be able to get up in the morning and not have a racist slur thrown my way, not have people talk to me and talk about me in a way that is disingenuous. A lot of them talked about immigration. And so people had to push back. April Ryan, she was the moderator of the panel. And she pushed back and said like, hey, listen, on immigration, you notice who they're not talking about in these immigration policies and who they are having you focus on. Black and brown people. There is a reason for that. Most people don't talk about the fact that most people on immigration who overstay their visas do not look like the Black and brown people that they are talking about.
Yes.
So we have to understand what we say and how we say it and where it's going. That's all I had. That's all I have to meeting. So I'm gonna jump off.
Jazzy. Thank you.
That's all I had, and I love y'all.
you.
Y'all doing the work that needs to be done. So I appreciate you coming on here and consistently talking about the issues, because a lot of people need to hear it. And also, don't go and buy up all the produce, because really, if you like bananas, go and buy stuff. But really, you don't really need to jump out there. Remember, all the other ports are open. It's just the Eastern Seaboard.
Yes,
and
true.
Alcohol, cheeses, computers. If you're buying a car, you perhaps might want to wait. Stuff like that. But that's all I had.
Thank you, Jazzy. Thank you. We love Jazzy. Hey, Fee. Fifi's in the building and Mr. B's in the building. Man, this is good. This is good. So the next subject for today, today Kamala was in North Carolina, I do believe, and there was some footage on that today. Let me see if I can. This was really cool. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can have that for you guys. And I think you guys can start.
Ron, why are you pulling that up?
Yeah, go ahead.
The main reason I wanted to get, I know we're way past the subject now, but I had to pull over because when you're talking about the strike, I hauled for the ports for about a year. One of my besties is an owner op. She got me into the container business. This is not going to last long. And people have to realize that toilet paper and paper towels are manufactured here and distributed here in the United States. We're not getting any of that from overseas. We're not getting any of the pulp to make that from overseas. All of that is coming from Georgia Pacific, who has acres and acres of pine trees that we go pick up giant rolls of paper and take to the processing plants. People are overdoing it a lot. The automation is coming regardless. The automation is already here. California has an entire port that is run by maybe 10 people. Everything is automated. When I ran the port in Norfolk, the longshoremen hate the truckers hate the longshoremen. It's complicated. The truckers get into fights over positioning because of time. But once we all get that TWIC card and we agree to haul all this stuff with government employees, because we all have a TSA number. So President Biden immediately ordered people back to work because he knew this was going to shut things down. It becomes a matter of national security, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
The thing is, the negotiations have been underway since they started striking in Virginia at noon. So Tiff didn't have anywhere to take her empty containers. None of the other drivers did. They had chains on the doors, everything. There's a large part of the largest port in Norfolk. There's NFI. I think it's NFI. There's several ports. Two are really small. One is this a container yard, and then there's NFI. While I was there, they were building the automated lanes for you to get loaded. So what happens is the longshoremen come over your vehicle on this giant stormtrooper thing. There. Now, some places it's a huge crane that's run by a crane operator, but in Virginia, there's stormtroopers literally. So there's 4 legs, wheels. Under that, they carry the container, set it on the frame. You lock it as a driver. You lock it into place and drive off. Everything's loaded. We only bring empties back. The longshoremen do that all day, but there's several lanes that have been installed where a robotic crane does that. So the cranes are the containers are stacked from whichever ship. All of the numbers are scanned. The robot will go. All I have to do is show up. You have one person running about 15 lanes because everything is computerized. And the only time he has to really do anything emergency wise is if there's a glitch. And then that one person can run that unless they have to bring in IT. So it's coming regardless because it's already here.
Okay.
Years ago, when I would pick up beer from Budweiser, I walked into a warehouse and there was only 2 guys in there. The warehouse is maybe 4,500 feet. And there's beer pallets everywhere and robotic pallet jacks. Now, this was 5 years ago. robotic pallet jacks were moving the beer from one place to the other. I got loaded by a robot.
Wow.
That's been
So
going.
it's already here. It's
This is
already here.
It's been here. This is going to happen. The problem with striking, longshoremen make really great money. I realize that with the economy, your money gets thinner as things get more expensive. The problem is every time we all strike, every time we complain about our wages, they automate more. So they'll get the piece of the negotiations, because I got a letter from Tiffany from the ILA, which sent out like a little news press. Now the ILA works for the longshoremen, but they also work for the companies that the longshoremen, work for, and the truckers haul for. So you got the owner operators who are suffering probably the most in all of this, because other trucker companies, they can just go and get different freight or whatever. But people that are dedicated to the ports, the truckers are going to hurt before we will, because they're losing pay. They get paid by the load. So according to the letter, the 70% increase that they were asking for, they've already agreed within 2 days. They had already agreed to give them 50% more than they're making. It's it's slim to none chance that they will get the no automation that they're asking for. It's not going to happen, because if a corporation can save money, which is all, at the end of the day, it's the bottom line. And as employees, as blue collar workers, we have to remember that it's business. It's not personal. Like you were talking about the people at the plastics company that don't care. Once you realize that, you can make better decisions for yourself as an employee, because the automation is going to be there. If it's not 50%, it will be 100. The problem is the workforce is not being retrained to manage this shift. We're not being retrained to be able to be the people that come in and engineer robots, repair robots, technology, learn how to build chips that go into these technologies. So that's where we're going to get left behind. And vocational skills are always going to be a thing. You're always going to need truck drivers, because the automated trucks is not going to work. It's just not. They've tried. It's not going to work. But if they can automate the docks and keep the truckers, that's fine. They're still going to save billions of dollars, because they don't have to pay salaries. They don't have to pay benefits. None of that. Their bottom line and their profits and all the things that they're promising their shareholders is going to go up, because robots don't need nothing but electricity and a good person to run the IT. So it's like, we have to be realistic about these things. We get emotional. And like I said, I've seen these guys at these they are emotional beasts. It's everything is about, I'm not, and they're fighting this system, and they're fighting each other. When honestly, the truckers and the longshoremen need to get together. But the longshoremen, the truckers are jealous of the longshoremen because they got steady money. The longshoremen don't like the truckers because they get to get out and do things. But it's like, it's all emotional baggage. I've literally watched drivers fight because you have to spend so much time in the dock. You only get 11 hours to drive and 14 to work. If it's taking forever for the ship to come in, sometimes you can see the ship like just pulling into the port, and there might be something going on where they can't pull in or they can't get the containers off. And then as an owner operator, you lose your day of pay because you got to sit there for 12, 14 hours hoping for your container to come.
Wow.
If you don't get another load.
You gave us a whole, that was interesting.
It's a lot to it. So it's just like different docks have different layouts and functions, but California has already automated a full dock, and there are guys that are literally live streaming from there's the few people that do work there are live streaming, telling the guys, we're with you fellas, we're with you. It's like, bro, you're standing at a fully automated dock. You're one of the last of them. You're the last of the Mohicans, and you're going, we're with you. It's like, no, corporations are going to do what feeds their bottom line, period. And we have to re-educate ourselves. Unions do workers a disservice by not introducing them to education and technology, by not introducing them to ways to pivot, because it's going to happen. It's happening. It is here. The thing is, the only reason it's going as slowly as it has gone. The only reason we're not as automated as China is because of the simple fact that legislation keeps that, and that because of the fact that unions can lobby for that. But if it's up to them, we're out of there. You know, like I said, they tried it with the trucks. It'll never work because it's too many. If you can't do it with driverless cabs, you sure can't do it with an 18-wheeler.
Yeah,
So it's like the technology that we're dealing with, the trucking industry would more benefit by having hybrid vehicles than it would all electric, than it would automated. Because all electric can only haul so much weight before, and the batteries create so much heat that becomes a total issue, climate, you know, and time. There are some countries that already have battery operated semis where matter of fact, China has a battery changing station for semis. They pull up and a
I
robot takes the
I
old battery off and puts the
yeah,
new battery on.
I just
Hmm.
saw that
The
this
only
week.
reason, yes, the only reason America is behind in automation and technology is because of workforce. That's
Hmm.
just because they're trying to keep us working. But these corporations are going to make a decision one day that's gonna tilt it all the way over in certain industries. But we,
Wow.
especially as Black people, especially as brown people, we have to be ready to move into technology. With this whole migrant manipulation that's going on, everybody has all these conspiracy theories. It's really simple. Migrants come here and work for cheap. They don't ask for benefits. All they want is their money. They work for pride. They work for the pride of being able to provide for their families in other countries. There's no place in California or anywhere else, even in the mountains here in Virginia and North Carolina, where I have picked up produce, where I've seen a white person or a Black person out there picking fruits and vegetables for 18, 20 hours. It's not going to happen. You are not going to see it. They
Hmm.
want to see us back out there doing that. You know, that's what the right is going through all of this for. They would love to push out immigrants and have us back in those positions, reintroducing slavery outside of prisons. But it's because that's not going to happen, because we're fighting against that. You let the migrants come in, you help them because they're going to work. No matter what, they're not going to strike. They're not in unions. They're not going to ask for more pay. Only thing they're going to ask for is enough money to be decent and shelter. And they're getting way more than they're getting at home. People in Mexico that work the textile jobs that we lost. North Carolina was rich in textile. We had so many factories. I worked at one of them. When they
Wow.
started closing and closing and closing, they would send people to those countries, the people that were losing their job. My ex-mother-in-law was one of them. God rest her soul. She went to Mexico. They said, we want you to train these people, but you
Hmm.
have to sign an NDA. You can't tell them how much money you made in America. You can't tell them anything about OSHA and safety regulations. You can't tell them anything other than what we tell you to train them. She moved to Mexico and did that for 3 months. I think about 3 months. Those people were making $2 an hour, $3 an hour,
Hmm.
American money, American money from a job she was making 14, 15. Couldn't tell them how much she used to make. They didn't
Wow.
have OSHA. They were working with no protective anything
Hmm. Well, we're gonna have
because
to
they
end
can
it. We're
do
gonna have to
that.
end this one
Yeah,
here.
they can do that overseas. The
Wow.
right and Trump's people think that all of that is because America signed NAFTA and America did this. No, corporations saw a way to save billions of dollars by cutting wages 70, 80, 90% in other countries and not having to follow regulations.
Wow.
So it's like, and don't have to pay taxes. So it's us against corporations, but everybody wants to say, well, it depends on this president. It depends. No, these corporations make their mind up. Every administration. I worked at Freightliner. They don't even increase production. I used to build trucks before I drove them. They won't even increase production of stuff during an election year. They hold off certain things to wait to see who's going to win because they got to, okay, which one, how many more orders are we going to have for this, that, and the third?
Hmm.
So in certain situations, yes, the administration matters because if you have somebody that's more corporate friendly than people friendly, the businesses
Wow.
make more money.
Oh well, thank you, man. Thank you, Fifi, for giving us some backstory, and you gave us. I mean, that's a lot of information you gave us here, and that's what I love about this community is that we have so many people that are so wise and smart in so many different sectors of where we are and what we talk about,
Different life
and
experience. Yeah.
yeah, but you just gave us your experience, and that's what I
Masterclass.
love about when people can say what you can read something and get a partial view of what it is, but when someone tells you what they are going through and what they've done, it does have a whole much more. It gives us much more clarity. So thank you,
Well,
Fifi.
the
I'm gonna get.
news spends more time and makes more, that people make more money when the news is scaring people into hoarding these supplies. We've got 2 more hurricanes coming through in the next few weeks. We can't afford for people to be hoarding because they think they're not going to be able to get toilet paper because the longshoremen are striking.
Yeah,
They don't fill in the blanks about the fact we're not getting toilet paper from China. Relax. It's like, and
yeah,
when it comes to produce, just utilize your local farmers market. They're everywhere. Like right now, Asheville is literally New Orleans.
Mm.
We're talking Lake Lure, where they filmed Dirty Dancing.
hmm
Chimney Rock is no longer a place.
Mm.
That whole town is in the lake.
mm
They still have no idea how many people have died because so many people were covered up in mudslides.
Yeah.
So many people were actually on highways when the mudslides happened.
Mm.
So many houses have washed into rivers. And like I said, Lake Lure, the whole lake is covered with debris from houses and stuff. And there's no telling how many people are at the bottom of that. That it's going to
mm.
take years, like years. I've got 2 friends that are going up this weekend to drop supplies. One is with the volunteer organization that I volunteer with for Healing by Harbor. We help homeless women and stuff like that. Her and her husband just moved to Asheville 2 months ago, and her whole family is up there with no power, no food, no water. So she works in Charlotte and has been able to bring supplies. So I'm meeting her on Friday to send some more stuff with her
Wow.
from me. And then my other friend, whose father and family, we're sending supplies with him. It's the amount of history that has been washed away, artisans who spend their life making art in the mountains have lost all their work,
Yeah.
all their homes. There are people that are having to try to walk out because they can't get rescued. There's nowhere for a helicopter to land.
There's
There's
no
no road
road.
for anybody to get to. They have to walk out. So you've had drone drops. People have been drone dropping in insulin, in medications. Helicopter pilots here, Statesville, Hickory are close to I-40, and Concord, North Carolina. They've been coordinating at the smaller airports, grabbing supplies that people are donating and
Mm.
dropping them in as best they can. Some people can't get to supplies, so that's making it a little difficult. But they are, by the time they just dig up the mud to find people and see what the damage. Right now, it's at $26 billion in damage, just the guesstimate. And
Mm.
the president released FEMA funds on Sunday, sent 3,500 workers. I mean, Blue Ridge Public Radio is a really good source, but people have to focus on local sources because there's going to be scammers out here looking for money. Don't donate to the Red Cross. Do not. Because what the Red Cross will do is disperse funds across mass areas. If you have a particular area, Florida, Asheville, whatever it is, Greenville, South Carolina, that you want to donate to, go online and find the local charities. Those are the people that are right there on the ground, know who to deliver to, know where to go. Like in Boone, North Carolina, the
Mm.
Chamber of Commerce has become a hub.
Mm.
Blowing Rock, none of that stuff exists right now. Like, at all.
Yeah, I've heard.
There are people that,
I've heard that they, like you just said, a lot of
hmm
towns have just been wiped off the planet.
yeah, there's no hot food. So you have people that are going there with grills and stuff to make people hot meals. Because even though they're getting canned goods and things like that, you know, it's always good to have a hot meal. So you have people going to do that. You have people mobilized literally the day the water receded. So
Yeah.
it's been going on, and FEMA's on the ground, but just the inability to get to people is going to take time. I-40 being washed out. I traveled I-40 for 13 years as a trucker. It's going to take probably 2 years just to be able to make that entire area impassable. Like they just finished I-40. They just finished construction on I-40. They just expanded part of it, and that's not the part that collapsed. The part that collapsed was the one they had just finished. They were working on the other part to expand it. So now you can go eastbound, can't go westbound, so they just shut it all the way down. I-26 is open north and south, but they're trying to keep a limitation to emergency electrical things that are necessary. You know, people that want to volunteer, try to volunteer where they are by bringing supplies, and then let the few that can get in there go, because the state of the roads is, I've never seen anything. I've driven all types of natural disasters. I've never seen anything like this. And
Wow.
it's if you can donate money, donate money. Supplies are going to go in, but donate money if you can, because a lot of the local organizations can order things in bulk. They can use that money to provide shelter, because most of the emergency shelters are full, because you have just instant mass homelessness in the
Wow.
mountains. You know, a lot of them are going to be relocating in Charlotte and surrounding areas, in Statesville and Hickory, places that are close by. So it's going to be a mass relocation, same as
Wow.
you saw in Katrina. People that can never live there again.
Well, I'm gonna have to end it here. Oh man, Fifi, thank you for all that information. Woo! You gave us a lot. A lot. So glad you came on. But definitely, Fifi gave us some good advice. Look for the local charities if you want to donate. Don't do a blanket charity, and don't, obviously, the people that are out there trying to scam you, they will be sending you emails and all other stuff to support and all that stuff. So we'll continue the conversation tomorrow. But wow, Fifi gave us a lot. Thank you, Fifi. And guys, I think we're out of here. What time is it? It is time to get out of here.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was gonna say what was your favorite cookies back in school, but we'll do that tomorrow. Okay, guys. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Let's make sure that you are also living life like you mean it, and also focus on what matters. And thank you guys for joining. And Brian, where can people find you?
Brian Young Creative on these social media streets.
Also, Gwendolyn, where can people find you?
GR Houston Jack on YouTube, Black Power Bunny on Instagram.
And Chris, where can people find you, sir?
Constantly _changing the number 4 me on my
There
socials.
you go. So guys, we'll be here tomorrow, but again, let's focus on, make sure we are looking at the keeping air on the docks and what's going on there. Make sure we looking at what's happening in North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida, but mainly North Carolina and Tennessee. That whole region, Appalachia, is really struggling. So let's keep our eyes on that. And tomorrow we'll talk more about politics, and I'll have some recommendations on some accounts that you should be following for the rest of this election, because we are down to 5 weeks. Is it 5 weeks or 4 weeks? Anyway, it's almost time for election day, y'all. It's almost time. We're just a little over a month.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 4 weeks, because today's what, the 4th?
Today's the
third.
4th.
Third.
Today's the 3rd, right? So we got a month and a day, 2 days. Okay, guys, so let's focus. And thank you guys for joining me today on Touch Base Daily. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day, guys. And like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Later.